Hey, Dad.
Hi, how are you today?
Good. Hey, I was thinking I wanted to talk about something since it's 2021. I was thinking I want to talk about should you make drastic changes in 2021? 2020 wasn't what most of us expected it to be.
Really?
And whenever you hear people say, oh, you should make resolutions. And, even if you
Yeah,
break them, the idea of identifying what you're looking for. But here's the thing, whenever I think of making drastic changes, I think of two things. First of all, I think that a lot of us, we set out to make drastic changes and don't make them. But then the second is, I'll never forget a story. This is the story that comes to my mind of when I don't remember how old I was, but I came home and I looked over in our living room and our TV was gone. And
somebody stole it.
I was like, Dad, where's the TV? And you said, I got rid of it. And I was trying to think, what did I do? I don't think I like flipped out, but I was like, what? I was like, well, what are we going to do now? And you're like, well, you'll find something to do. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh. So here's what I was thinking. You made a drastic change there, but a lot of times there's stuff that doesn't need a drastic change. It just needs a minor change.
Yeah,
What's your take on how do you know when it's time to make a drastic change?
that's a good question. It's funny because we're actually, your mom and I are kind of in a decision making process right now where we're trying to decide, do you make a drastic change? Do you make a little bit of change? And I told her last night, I said, well, it's kind of like the story of the boy who they needed to trim the dog's tail and he didn't want to hurt the dog. So he just did it a little bit at a time. And so is it a situation where we're either trimming the dog's tail and we're just hurting ourselves more by doing this slowly, bit by bit? Or the other situation, of course, is the picture of you can't jump over a pit in 2 or 3 steps. You have to do it all at once or you end up in the pit.
Mm,
So that's kind of where we are too. The same situation. Do we do this all at once or do we do it incrementally? And I think, in that situation, one of the reasons I did it all at once was we had tried to do it incrementally. And we had
you
tried
mean like
to
cut back on our TV
cut
use?
back on the TV time. Yeah, if you remember, we'd come up with all these plans, and we had a timer on the TV. And the first thing we did was we were going to give each of you guys, the 3 kids, going to give each of you, okay, you can have an hour of TV. But then you guys all got together and conspired, and okay, I'll watch this show, and then you watch that show, and you watch this show, and so we were 3 hours of TV, again every night, the
Hey,
whole night was taken.
teamwork makes the dream work.
It did. It did in that case. So we tried something else. We tried. Finally, I just realized, okay, this isn't going to work. We are not going to be able to just cut back on the TV. It's just got to get out of here. And so we just took it out and moved it, and that worked. And so I think if the decision you're trying to make is something that you've tried incrementally to do bit at a time, you may just have to make the drastic decision. Normally, I'm not for drastic decisions either way because these drastic resolutions, man, I'm going to lose 400 pounds by February, because you get all discouraged and it just
Yeah.
doesn't happen. You got to do it a little at a time. But I was thinking about it. I think there are at least 2 or 3 other times when you need to make it just drastic. And that's one is when you've tried incrementally. I don't know, maybe you've had something like that where you've tried to do it a little at a time and you finally just go, okay, this isn't going to work. I just got to quit and go cold turkey on it. The other time that I was thinking, yeah, go ahead.
Random insight. I was like, where does the term cold turkey come from? And I found out that cold turkey comes from the fact that when people like quickly get off of opioids, it apparently causes their skin to bubble up like turkey skin.
Oh,
That's where the cold
seriously?
turkey comes from, like a rapid stopping of taking opioids. I was like, where does cold turkey come from? Anyways, go on with your
You
story.
thought you'd never be able to use that bit of trivia. I set you right up for
You
that.
set me up
That's great. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
once
Okay,
again.
so
Yes.
um, the other time is like I feel like if it's a matter of obedience to the Lord, which this with the TV kind of was, and frankly, it wasn't you guys that were having the problem with the TV. As you know, I'm attracted to flashing lights.
I know. We
You,
don't. We whenever we go to a restaurant, we make sure the TV is not in Dad's eyesight, or he's like,
I I can't help it. My eyes just go to flashing lights. I'll watch a movie and it is the worst movie, but I figure it's the optimism in me. This has got to get better. So I got to hang in till the it's got to get better. They filmed this and they put it's got to have something good in it. So anyway,
so it's for you.
it was
So
really for me. You guys were doing okay. It was me.
like guys like financial guys like Dave Ramsey say you got to take these baby steps to make the changes.
Yeah.
And I guess in a lot of cases, if it seems like an overwhelming, insurmountable goal, the best thing you can do is aim low. And if you
Yeah.
can't find a place to start, aim lower, but just do something to get started on it. But then there
Yeah.
are times, I mean, I was thinking about, that line in, I think it's in Matthew 5, where Jesus was on earth, and he basically, what he was saying is, he said, if there's something that's keeping you, like your eye, from walking in
Yeah.
integrity, you're going to do better to just gouge it out. Or if what you're doing with your hands are keeping you from walking in integrity, you're going to do better to chop off your hand. Like, whoa, that's among the less hallmarky things that Jesus said. We don't put that on
Yeah.
Hallmark.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen that on a card.
Yeah.
Send
But
that to a friend.
that's right. Hey, buddy, I got you a card to
Cut your
encourage
hand
you.
up.
Yeah.
Gouge your
But
eye out.
But Jesus, even Jesus, sweet, lovable Jesus, said there's sometimes you've got to take drastic measures if it's self-destructive, if it's hurting you. And there are some things that are self-destructive that you should probably you need to cut it off,
Yeah.
cold turkey. But even that's hard. Like I was, when Emily and I first started trying to get healthy, we were like, where do you even start? And, there's all these crazy exercise regimens and change your diet. But once somebody simply mentioned, cut out sugar, we're like, oh.
Yeah.
And as soon as we did that, man, it started to make a huge difference. Cutting out
But that
sugar
is drastic for most of us. I mean, that is a big one. Sugar's in everything, and for some of us to not drink a Coke, that's like a big drastic change. But
yeah. Well,
if
that's
you
what it
can't
came down
even
to for
start
me.
there.
Yeah, my daily
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper out the door.
Yeah.
And now I drink Dr. Pepper periodically, but it took a while before I had to cut that out. But I think sometimes drastic change is needed. So
Yeah.
is it just listening to or knowing yourself? That's what I think a lot of it is, know yourself. Like, it's just not going to work if I, just
Some of it's know
completely cut it
yourself,
out.
and some of it's experience. I mean, if you fall flat on your face 10 times, okay, then try something else. Take a smaller step.
Yeah.
I'd say, unless it's like something in obedience to the Lord, like what you're saying, where it's self-destructive, that's something too, where you still, I mean, sugar's self-destructive, but there are, like, if you're engaged in a sin, you're probably not going to be able to do that incrementally. Like, for instance, a guy who's in an affair, or you got something going on, you're not going to be able to do that incrementally. That's something that you just need to cut that off right now. Stop it.
And you need to remove the temptation.
Yeah, exactly. It may mean quitting your job. It may mean moving. It may mean breaking off a relationship. And, that's pretty drastic. That's a pretty drastic situation. So it requires drastic measures. But you have to realize what you're going to do, because when you get your emotions engaged, you can pretty much justify anything.
Man, ain't that the truth? And the crazy thing is, your emotions can feel so real that you're man, to stop doing this, I'm losing a part of myself.
And you can feel like it's God, oh, this has got to be of the Lord because this is so good, or whatever, in a situation like that, So
yeah,
there are situations where, when it's obedience to the Lord, I know people who've said, well, I'm going to try tithing. Let's pick that one out, a real hot topic. I'm going to try tithing. I'm going to tithe 3%, and I'm going to start. And they go, well, that's okay, but now you're only stealing 7%. And so you can't really expect tremendous. Well, I tried. I tithe 3%, and it didn't work. Well, because you're really not doing. You're not obeying. You're just kind of doing what you could do instead of really trusting God. And that's where when the trust in the Lord comes in. That's when He kicks in and starts doing miracles.
Yeah. One more thing I've been wrestling with before we wrap it up. So 2020 was a crazy year. And generally, when I counsel people in counseling, I say, don't be making crazy life-changing decisions when everything around you is swirling.
Exactly.
And a lot of us were like, we're going to make dramatic changes. I'm selling my house and moving into an RV into the middle of Montana.
Probably not.
That actually sounds incredibly appealing to me. But so it's probably not a good idea in general, except for the reasons you said, if it's self-destructive or destroying destroying your marriage, destroying something. It's probably best to not be making dramatic, life-altering decisions right on the heels of COVID, because everything's still kind of swirling.
Yeah.
COVID's still going, but yeah.
Yeah. I kind of look at it this way, similar to what you said. But if you take a guy and you spin him around, and while he is spinning, that's not the time for him to say, I'm going to go that way.
Take a direction, buddy.
Yeah. Okay. You were spinning around. Yeah. You can see them all right. But it's better to just kind of stop, wait until your head stops spinning, and then go, okay, this looks like a good way to go. And so, we are all kind of spinning around right now. And some of us have been affected pretty dramatically. And probably those who've been affected most dramatically are the ones who feel like they ought to do something more drastic. And you probably don't. The example we used before in another podcast, there was where we talked about this last year could have been like the step one of your remodeling job. So you've torn it all down. So now you need to build back. But you're still going to pretty much build back the same way. You may add on a little expansion or something, but you're probably not going to tear the whole house down and rebuild the whole house. It's just sort of a remodeling job. So you've had everything's torn up now. Now figure out what part of your life needs to be rebuilt and in a better way, using better material and doing it better.
Add
So
some new components to it. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's good. It's very nuanced. It's not your throw everything out and start over book, and it's also not your baby steps book. It's your
Yeah.
there's somewhere in the middle, a happy
Well, and
medium.
it kind of depends on where you are. And the Lord can kind of guide you in that. That's kind of what we're seeking. It's like we're trying to decide, okay, is this a jump over the pit situation where we just have to do it in one fell swoop, or are we cutting the dog's tail off one spot at a time? And the Lord will give us guidance in that. And that's kind of where we are right now, is just sort of waiting to hear, to where we both feel at peace about it. And this is a terrible hermeneutics. It's a terrible application of scripture, but it works. It says, they shall go out with peace and be led forth with joy, in Isaiah, I believe it is. And I believe God wants to lead us by peace. They shall go out with peace, be led forth with joy. And so when you feel a peace, when you feel a joy in that particular area, it may not be a joy necessarily, but you feel a peace in your heart, then you can begin to move forward, increment slowly. Even if it's a big jump you have to take, you can kind of wait until you feel a total confidence from the Lord, and then make the move.
Good word.
Cut the
Good word.
dog's tail off. All right. Good to talk with you.
Bye.